How is it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Okay, before we start, does any of you have lepidopterophobia, or in human words, fear of moth? I mean, butterflies are really pretty, but who hasn't been scared as a kid by one of these things flying straight to your head? Or finding one of these moths on the corner, stalking you with those big eyes on its wings? And I know that some people are allergic to the dust these things spread, and who hasn't seen this infamous video of the orange moth from the Southeast Asia with those tentacles and hairs? Well, the analog horror series we'll be talking about today is about Moth, so may that serve you as a warning. It was made by a user just called Anomaly. I'll leave his channel in the description down below, and the title of this series is just Enrage. So without further ado, let's go right into it. October of 1997, the government of the United States carried out a special operation under the city of Chicago, after some reports from city officials about illegal activity on the area. The state of Wyoming also sent an alert about an anomalous plague, an unknown substance capable of entering human organs. The same substance was found a few months ago in swimming pools of 4 luxury hotels in downtown Chicago. It was yellowish and viscous, forming lumps that ranged in size from a small tennis ball to a watermelon. And so, a special task team was sent to investigate the tunnels. There, they found the containment system of the old sewer, filled with the same substance. One of the things they took into account before going down was this photo, taken by 2 teenagers who were exploring the tunnels a year ago. At about 300 meters on the ground, they found a huge petrified moth. The boys claimed that it did not move, and the most unsettling thing was that it had a human face. The photo was later confiscated by the police. The teams were dispatched with explosives, in anticipation of any hostile entity. In the deepest wells, they found more of the same substance, in addition to dozens of eggs of unknown origin. Just as they had suspected, giant insects had made their nest in the whole Chicago sewer system, breeding things that had never seen the light of day. Due to the biological risk these bugs posed, and to prevent them from reaching the surface, the use of special eradication weapons was approved, or in other words, tons of fire. During the expedition, the presence of overdeveloped insects was noted. The teams tried to avoid contact with the creatures, although, on occasions, they came face to face with the mutant fauna, which for the most part consisted of variations of Lepidoptera, specifically moths. Oddly enough, these encounters coincided with West Coast farmers' reports on larger than usual insects during pest season. In any case, the team set a series of controlled explosions along the tunnels to get rid of the infestation. The detonations were successful. The exits were sealed in the hope that no insect could have survived destruction or contaminate other water sources, although there were no traces of the petrified moth the kids encountered. But during the explosions, one of the team's camera captured this. A strange figure walking away from the fire, but no member of the military team was reported missing or lost, hinting that there was definitely someone else in the tunnels, stuck in them. The autopsy of some specimens a month later did not reveal much. The teams only managed to recover the cocoon from which they speculated hatched a 2-meter-long creature. The other thing was that the thing had some strange stings formations pressing in place whatever it had inside, instead of having them on the outside to protect them from predators. Subsequently, the remains of the chrysalis combusted spontaneously, leaving no trace for further research. This was the first recorded encounter with a new type of huge moth during a cleaning process of the old Chicago sewer system. But events surrounding these strange creatures are not only limited to the United States. The next part is about a police report of a strange event that occurred in southern Spain in September 2003 at a local clinical center from Seville. The chief surgeon and director of the hospital was arrested for malpractice. His name, Ricardo Castellon, who had been in charge since 1997, carrying out almost impossible clinical procedures. The case was opened after a report from a disastrous buttocks intervention. The recorded testimony of Marta, 61 years old, reveals that she went to this surgeon to treat an impossible-to-remove tumor on her head. Her niece took her to this doctor who she claimed that he could perform the intervention. At first, everything went well, but over the course of a year, Marta began to lose sensitivity on her body. When she visited another hospital, they were surprised to see that the tumor was gone, but there was something way more sinister now. They found a parasite inside her neck. It had eaten the tumor. It was feeding on her spinal cord, almost paralyzing her. Now, she was waiting for another surgery. After the report, the police arrested the surgeon and part of the staff for alleged complicity, and then confiscated every suspicious instrument. But here's where the forensic investigation turned for what seemed like a normal case of malpractice into something unknown to science. In his office, they found jars of various sizes, filled with a yellow viscous substance with creatures akin to very deformed crabs inside. Some were opened and seemed to have been extracted just a few days ago. Other containers had enormous larvae that weighed 20 to 30 kilograms and still responded to stimuli such as light and sounds. And when the containers were removed from the place, they emitted a strange screeching noise. The second testimony is that of a 28-year-old woman who suffered from digestive problems since she was a child. A friend referred her to the doctor, and after an examination, he concluded that she suffered from a mucosal deficiency in her small intestine. So, he offered her an invasive procedure that consisted of the use of worms. He told her that at first she'd feel hungrier than usual and that it was something normal, but after 30 days she began to faint suddenly and vomit. Then, she felt a sharp pain on her chest and couldn't bear it anymore. She went to another doctor where, after some x-rays, they performed an emergency intervention. What they discovered was a parasite of about 15 centimeters surrounding her heart and fusing with one of her lungs. We can see here that the larvae was in a fairly advanced state of maturity, probably about to hatch from Isabel's neck. The following is a transcript of Dr. Castellan's interrogation by the police. The officer goes straight to the point and asks him when or how did he get these giant larvae. He responded that he created them and it was up to them if they choose to believe him or not. The interrogator makes a call and then asks him to proceed. He revealed something about a medical brotherhood in Malaga, which had professionals and new practitioners among its ranks. He was chosen thanks to his interest in infectious diseases and good grades at the medical school. Once there, he was told that he was special, that his body was made to serve a greater cause. He was promoted to one of the high ranks among them and was taught medical procedures that he could not reveal to anyone or the consequences would be terrible. He was chosen to serve the truth, and that is how he became the first son of Emro Hush. That he was chosen by this divine entity to be its new vessel. This was how he obtained the ability to give a new life to himself and to others, to at some point return to the Great Other, referring to this entity. The interrogator asks when he began to plant these larvae on his patients, to which he replies that it was necessary. These bodies decay and die. They were imperfect, and that to enter into communion with this God, they needed to offer their bodies to its children, referring to the parasites. Among the notes recovered from Dr. Castellan's clinic, some drawings were found that showed the process of growth and symbiosis of moths with the human nervous system. One of these even detailed the fusion between one of these and a person's head, and how a larvae gained full locomotion of a body. Okay, from the beginning of this part, a clinical center in Malaga in the year 97 began to perform apparently miraculous surgeries on its patients, which consisted in implanting these larvae in vital parts of the body, with the intention of giving these creatures a new host to bring them closer to some sort of insect deity called Emro Hush, and that the medical community of the region was part of some cult to this god. The next part is told to us by an old man on a small town somewhere in North America. This takes most of the original video runtime, so to put it simply, one of these Moth entities took control of a store manager that this old man frequented, and it tells us how slowly he begins to notice strange things happening to the man. It ends with the store owner surrounded by the police. He had just killed a teenager who worked at the place. His stomach was bloated, his hands were covered in gore. His eyes were bloodshot and was spewing a yellow viscous substance from his mouth. 7 officers were pointing at him with guns, and when they were about to shoot, his head suddenly exploded and a giant moth took flight, taking part of his fat and intestines with him. This is most likely the same species of moth that the kids found on the drainage system. So that's a successful example of how the moth take control of the human body. Now, the last part of the video is a sort of documentary about a strange event that occurs in certain part of South America, on the border between Chile and Peru to be specific. At the end of the year, during the drought seasons and extreme heat, the inhabitants and communities of the region have to deal with a peculiar pest. An infestation of flying insects comes down from the Andes mountains to lay down their eggs in the lowlands, reaching the nearby towns. The locals have nicknamed these creatures as Don Hueas, Each time during Christmas holidays, the inhabitants close their houses and go after these apparently harmless creatures. Some of them have an unsettling human appearance but with the characteristics of a moth. The native populations assure that these bugs are harmless and that they should not harm them. But after an incident that ended with the disappearance of a town in 2009, it has become a necessity to actively go after these pests. As was usual during this time of year, a swarm of these insects came down to a town to lay their eggs. But during an abnormal heatwave, the pupa began to grow at an abnormal pace, destabilizing structures and endangering the residents. The use of industrial pesticide was so extensive that the townsfolk were forced to leave the area. After the event, researchers, local news, and some onlookers went near the caves from which these creatures were said to inhabit, guided by locals who knew the area. They found multiple entrances to a cave system, and between the rocks, they found small ponds guarded from the sunlight, containing a yellowish substance. After descending through these tunnels, they found some species of unknown insects, mainly Lepidoptera and larvae, of the same species of moth that attacked the local populations, in addition to numerous bug species that show bioluminescence. Although due to a lack of interest and limited results, the funds for further research dried up, and this phenomena was just classified as a strange occurrence of the region. And that might be it for today. I hope you liked the video, and I'll try to make the second part as soon as possible. And this time I'm being serious, okay? Remember to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell button to support the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye!